A disclaimer before we start. This podcast is made during Facts Over Fiction Youth Exchange hosted by Dream Team NGO, supported by Erasmus Programme of European Union. The views and opinions expressed during this podcast belong solely to our group members and do not necessarily reflect those of the European Union or the Dream Team. Welcome to the Cost of Truth podcast, where we will discuss the harsh reality of the oppression felt by journalists in countries that claim to be free and safe. Every story has its secrets, but the truth often comes at a cost, whether for the victims, the investigators, or even those seeking justice. And today we will be discussing two true crime cases which took place in Czech Republic and Slovakia not too long ago. These cases have significantly changed the journalism industry and made a big impact on our people. There were multiple protests following the events where citizens were desperately fighting for freedom of speech. What happens when the truth finally comes to light, and is justice always served? Let's find out. Introducing our first speaker, Zuzana, who's gonna tell you more about the Sabina Slonkova case.
Imagine you are sitting at a cafe, reading the morning newspaper. You sip your coffee, turn the page, and there it is, another scandal. A politician caught taking bribes. A secret deal exposed. Now imagine this. The person who uncovered the truth, the journalist who risked everything to bring this story to you, just received a death threat. This is the story of Sabina Slonkova, one of the most fearless journalists in the Czech Republic. A woman who stood up to corruption, even when it nearly cost her life. Sabina Slonkova wasn't just a journalist. She was a warrior with a pen. From a young age, she had a deep curiosity about the world. She wasn't the kind of person who accepted things at face value. She asked questions, lots of them. And those questions led her down a path that would make her one of the most respected and feared investigative journalists in the Czech Republic. She started her career in the early 90s, diving deep into the political scandals, uncovering secrets that powerful people wanted to keep hidden. The Czech Republic had just emerged from communism and corruption ran deep in the system. It was a new era, but the old ways of bribery and backdoors deals still remain. Sabina saw it happening and she made it a mission to expose it. One of her biggest stories came in 2002. She exposed a corruption case inside the Czech Foreign Ministry. High-ranking officials were involved in shady business deals, using their power for personal gain. The story was explosive. It made headlines across the country, but it also made her enemies, dangerous ones. And then, the threats started. Sabina's phone would ring in the middle of the night. Anonymous voices whispered threats. They told her to stop. They told her she was playing with fire. But she didn't stop. She kept digging. And then it got worse. A man approached her, offering her a warning. He told her she should disappear for a while, maybe take a vacation, maybe stop asking questions. She ignored him. Then one day, she got a terrifying message. Someone was planning to kill her. The man behind the plot? Karel Srba, a former high-ranking government official. He had power, money, and connections. And he was angry. Sabina's investigation had uncovered details about his corruption deals, and he wanted her silenced. He didn't just threaten her, he hired a hitman. The plan was chillingly detailed. Srba coordinated with an accomplice to arrange for an explosive device to be planted at her home. The goal was simple: eliminate her in a way that would send her a clear message to other journalists. The bomb was designed to go off at a time when she would be inside, ensuring there were no chances of survival. They studied her routine. They knew where she lived, when she came home, when she was most vulnerable. Every detail had been calculated to perfection. The bomb, disguised to avoid suspicion, was supposed to detonate and make it seem like a tragic accident. But something went wrong for the killers. Czech intelligence and law enforcement were already watching. Authorities had received a crucial tip-off about a potential attack, and an urgent investigation was launched. As officers dug deeper, they uncovered the terrifying truth: Sabina was hours away from being murdered. Acting swiftly, the police intercepted the hired hitman before he could complete the job. Srba and his associates were arrested, and the plot was foiled just in time. The bomb never went off. The reality was clear. Sabina had come terrifyingly close to death, simply for doing her job. Imagine this. You're a journalist. You've just uncovered the biggest story of your career. You're proud, but also know it's dangerous. Then one day you find out that someone is planning to kill you, not just scare you, not just to threaten you, actually kill you. What would you do? Would you keep working? Would you run? Sabina didn't run. But she was careful. She changed her routines, she became more aware of people around her, and she kept writing. Most people, after something like this, would walk away. They would find a safer job, a quieter life. But not Sabina. She went right back to work, right back to uncovering the truth. Over the years, she faced many threats, more intimidation, but she never backed down. She moved between different newsrooms, always chasing the next big story, always holding the powerful accountable. In 2014, she became the editor-in-chief of one of the biggest newspapers in history, Mladá Fronta Dnes. It was a huge position, a major step in her career. But something didn't feel right. The newspaper had been bought by a powerful businessman, Andrej Babiš, who later became the country's prime minister. Sabina didn't want to work for a newspaper that was controlled by a politician. She knew it would mean limits, restrictions, and pressure to protect certain people. She lasted only a few months before she walked away. That's who Sabina Slonkova is. A journalist who refused to be silenced. A woman who faced death threats and powerful enemies, and still chose to tell the truth. Journalism is not just a job. For some, it's a fight for truth, for justice, for accountability. And today, that fight is more dangerous than ever. Around the world, reporters are being attacked, threatened, and even killed for doing their jobs. Because the truth is dangerous. The truth can bring down powerful people, and those powerful people will do anything to keep their secrets hidden. But people like Sabina remind us why journalism matters. Because without them, corruption wins. Without them, the truth stays buried. So next time you read a news story that exposed corruption, remember, someone risked everything to bring it to you. And if you ever wonder whether journalism still matters, just think of Sabina Slonkova.
Thank you, Zuzana, for this interesting story. Moving on, now we are introducing our second speaker, Aleš, who's going to tell you more about the Jan Kuciak case.
Jan Kuciak, a young journalist, is investigating corruption in Slovakia. He finds something big, too big. His articles expose how rich businessmen work with politicians, making secret deals and stealing public money. He writes about powerful people, and powerful people don't like that. Then he gets a call. A voice on the other end is cold but calm. I will find something on you and your family. The man says, a threat, a warning. But Jan does not stop. He keeps writing. And then, one evening, Jan Kuciak stops answering his phone. Days pass. His fiance's mother calls, but no one picks up. Friends start to worry. And then, the police arrive at her house. What they find inside will change Slovakia forever. Jan Kuciak was 27 years old. He wasn't a celebrity. He wasn't a TV reporter with a loud voice or a dramatic style. He was quiet and careful. A journalist who worked with facts, who believed in evidence, in truth. His articles were about money, where it went, who took it, and who tried to hide it. He started investigating Marian Kočner, a rich businessman with a long list of scandals. Kočner was more than just corrupt. He was dangerous. He had connections everywhere. Politicians, police officers, even judges. He could make problems disappear. And he had a message for journalists like Jan. Stay quiet or else. Jan didn't stay quiet. The threat started subtly. A lawsuit here, a campaign there. Kočner was known for this. He used words to silence people. But when that didn't work, the messages became personal. Jan was followed. His home was watched. His fiancée, Martina, told friends she felt something wasn't right. Then came the call. It was Kočner himself. His smooth voice, but full of threat. I will find something on you and your family, he said. It was a promise, not just to ruin Jan's career, but his life. Jan reported it to the police. He told them he felt threatened, that he was being watched, but nothing happened. No investigation, no protection, nothing. So he kept working. He kept digging. He found something big. Proof that Kočner was linked to Italian mafia groups, that public money was going into the hands of criminals, that politicians knew and looked the other way. And then he disappeared. February 21st, 2018 evening, Jan and his fiancée, Martina Kušnírova, were at home in Velká Máča, a small village outside Bratislava. They were planning their wedding, choosing invitation, talking about their future. They didn't know that someone was already inside their house, a hitman, sent by a businessman who wanted Jan silenced. The killer moved quickly. He shot Jan in the chest, Martina in the head, 2 bullets, 2 lives gone. The house was quiet again. 4 days passed. No one heard from them. Martina's mother tried calling again and again. No answer. Finally, she called the police. Officers arrived at the house. They knocked. No one answered. They broke the door. And they found them. The journalist and his fiancée murdered in their own home because he was seeking the truth. The news spread like wildfire. Slovakia woke up to a nightmare. Journalists had been killed, not in some faraway war zone, but at home, because he dared to ask questions. People were asking, who was responsible for this? Who gave the order? The police began their investigations and quickly arrested the killers, a group of men, including a hitman named Miroslav Marček. However, Marček was just the one who pulled the trigger. The real question was, who had ordered the murder? All the evidence pointed to Marian Kočner, a powerful Slovak businessman with alleged connections to organized crime. The men involved in the crime were identified as Zoltán Andrusko, a local pizzeria owner, Tomáš Šábo, a policeman, and Miroslav Marček, a former soldier. Andrusko told the police that he had been approached by Elena Šusová, an Italian translator, who offered him 70,000 euros in exchange for killing journalist Jan Kuciak. He revealed, had been hired by Kočner. Andrusko went on to say that he recruited Šábo and Marček to help, as he didn't know how to carry out the murder himself. Although the primary target was Kuciak, the killers did not spare his fiancée, Martina Kušnírova, who was with him at their newly purchased home that evening. The murder was carried out so quickly and quietly that no one in the small village of Velká Máča, located 60 kilometers from Bratislava, even noticed the brutal crime taking place. Leaked messages revealed that Kočner had a list of journalists he wanted silenced, with Jan Kuciak at the top. He had been tracking Kuciak, planning his murder, but for years nothing was done. Police later uncovered that the murderers used personal information about Kuciak, such as his address and daily habits, which came from illegal surveillance ordered by Kočner. This surveillance, targeting over 30 prominent Slovak journalists, was carried out by former Secret Service agents, with Kočner supplying personal details through his police contacts. Now finally, he was in court. The trial began. The public watched closely. Will justice be served? Then in 2020, the court made a shocking decision. Kočner was found not guilty. The evidence, they said, was not enough. People were furious. Protests started again. Thousands filled the streets, holding candles, holding signs, holding pictures of Jan and Martina. They shouted, Slovensko bez mafie. Slovakia without the mafia. The movement was called for a decent Slovakia. It forced Prime Minister Robert Fico to resign, the Interior Minister too. The government changed, laws were made, investigations opened. But Kočner, he was still free. In 2023, the Supreme Court cancelled the verdict. A new trial began, but to this day there is no final justice. Before the murder, journalists in Slovakia were afraid. They knew corruption existed, but they also knew one thing: nobody cared. After the murder, everything changed. People woke up. They saw the reality of their country, the deep ties between business, crime, and politics. They saw how easy it was to silence someone with a gun, and they realized they had to fight back. Today, journalism in Slovakia is stronger. But the threats are not gone. Journalists still receive warnings. They'll still get messages late at night. They still feel the same fear Jan felt when he got that call from Kočner. Because the truth is dangerous. Jan and Martina never wanted to be heroes. They wanted a simple life, to do their jobs, to tell the truth. And in the end, the truth was the most powerful thing they had.
Thank you, Aleš, for this interesting story, and that brings us to the end of this episode of Cost of Truth. The cases we've discussed today remind us that uncovering the truth is never easy, and sometimes it comes at a devastating price. But seeking justice and understanding the past is what keeps us moving forward. What are your thoughts on today's cases? Let's continue the conversation. Tune in next time for more stories where truth and justice collide. Until then, stay safe and curious.